Good day, podcast community. Pete Kane here, Podcast Pete and certified lifestyle coach. I got a special guest. Met him through a friend of mine, George, and we have a similar story, a similar journey, surviving a stroke. So Stu was nice enough to be a guest on the podcast. So Stu, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into your story and journey.
My name is Stuart Hymson. I'm a public adjuster with Blueprint Claims. I live and work in the Atlanta area, but I am licensed in all of Georgia as well as Florida. My background, I started in Florida. I moved here about 2 years ago, and an opportunity opened up in this area, and we had some family up here. So we decided to make the move. So that's why I'm here. And that's about it. I've been a public adjuster for about 11 years now.
Awesome. I want to really, because I've never had a guest on my podcast that was a stroke survivor. I've always asked people when I know, and nobody's done it. So let's go back to your story, your journey. Tell us a little about what happened, where you were, and what was your first kind of experience of a new life?
Well, you want me to go back to the day of?
Yeah, just tell our viewers, because a lot of people have no idea. They just hear of a stroke and they just don't. But just give us a little idea of where you were, what happened, and what.
I was on my way to a fraternity weekend up in University of Florida. But I went to go see a friend in South Carolina first, and then I was just going to drive down to Gainesville. And I made a week out of it. So I get on the plane. It's like 6, maybe 5:30. I don't remember now what time the flight went, out of West Palm. So I was up probably at 3 and feeling fine. I packed, I got everything ready. I didn't live very far from the airport, and got on the plane, the whole thing. And I flew here to Atlanta, no problems at all. And it was from Atlanta, my connecting flight to South Carolina, that I started feeling a tingle or a throbbing kind of not a pain. It was just a throbbing kind of a feeling in my right arm. And I had no idea what this was. I figured it was something that comes and goes, and I didn't really think much of it, but it wasn't going away. And I got on the plane. We got up in the air. I remember sitting next to a guy that was talking my ear off, and I didn't even understand what it was saying, because this pain just kept coming. It wasn't really a pain, I should say. It was more of a throbbing, but it wasn't going away. And I got down. I'm in South Carolina now. I walked to the baggage claim. No problems. My arms are working just fine. My legs are working just fine. I'm just really tired. I didn't realize that was the stroke coming on. I just figured it was the time, because I don't think it was 8 o'clock yet in the morning. So I get the baggage claim, get my bag, I go to sign the rental agreement, and I can't hold the pen. I'm going, oh my God. And I couldn't sign my name. I barely got it through. But I don't know. I just figured I'd wake up and it would go away. So I get in the car. On hindsight, I probably should have gotten a hold of a police officer or rescue or something. But, I'm a macho guy, and I'm invincible, and I think I'm going to live forever. And I drive to the hotel. It's about an hour away.
Mm-hmm.
When I get there, I'm too early to check in. Check-in's at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's about 9 now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. Well, I passed the urgent care when I was coming here, so I asked the front desk, "Oh, can I leave my stuff here, and I'm just going to go to the urgent care." I get to the urgent care, and the guy says, "You're having a stroke." And I go, "Oh." So he says, "Let me get you a rescue, and they can take it over to a hospital because we can't treat it." I said, "No, just send me that way to the hospital because I think I'll get there faster." Another mistake, by the way. And I get to the hospital, and they take me right away. They take me in the back.
Mm-hmm.
They hook me up to all kinds of stuff. I have no idea what I'm being hooked up to. And before I got, it was initially plugged into my arm.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the bathroom. I had I with no problem, no pain, no limping, no facial anything. All the signs of a stroke, I don't have them yet. I just have that feeling of this throbbing that's
Mm-hmm.
still going on. What I didn't know was that throbbing was basically my arm starving for blood. And then about an hour, the whole bag came into me, and they had to change the bag. So I asked them if this is about an hour and a half now. So I said, I got to go to the bathroom again. So this was a good time to go because I didn't have to drag everything with me. And it was at that point that something wasn't right with my leg, my right leg.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in my my calf muscle. And what is it? It was just a nagging pain. It was there, but it didn't affect me really. I could walk with no problems, but it was like, I've never had this one before. And then I go back to the room and take another hour and a half of more of the IV. And next thing I know, I'm going in for a test. And then I get back from the test, and they want to send me to the main hospital, which is in Williamsburg, I think it's called. And they have to transport me over that. While I was being transported, I fell asleep. And when I woke up, it was like almost a 40-minute drive. When I woke up, I couldn't move my arm. I couldn't move my leg. Nothing felt good. It was like, now I'm scared. It's the first time that I was like, this is really happening. And it got worse. I went in for a CAT scan. I had a bunch of stuff done, so I don't remember the exact order, but a bunch of stuff was done. And probably spent about 6 hours with tests and tests and tests. And I have no idea what I was doing. Meanwhile, I'm going through this, and my head's not into it at all. So when things calmed down, it was probably close to 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening. That's when I sat down. That's when the doctor came in, actually, sat down and told me everything that's going on, what happened to me, how much they caught before it got worse. But my whole right side was affected. I did not have, you can see it sometimes in my lips, a droopiness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at myself in the camera right now, and I can see a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't slur. My head was still there. Just my right arm and my leg were off. And I could not use my hand on my right side at all. So that's really it in a nutshell. And then 35 days, including the hospital stay and the rehab, it was all in the same place in the Williamsburg hospital that I left. And I was by myself. My
Yeah.
family's all in Florida, West Palm Beach.
How
It
soon
was,
did your family get up to see you? Like, did they?
I would say my mom was too old to travel. My daughter came about a week and a half, 10 days. Um, but for the most part, I was all alone.
Mm,
And yeah, I had the phone, and yeah, I had the computer, and and I had my computer with me, so I could FaceTime or whatever that's called. So I was able to see people, but I could
mhm,
not. They couldn't come. Um, um, my fiance did come up, and she was there for 2 days,
mhm.
but she had to go home. She had to go to work, and there was really nothing she could do or I could do.
Yeah.
And just
How soon was it that you got back to Florida? After the 35 days?
yeah, it was about that time. The doctor had told me, it's time to go. We've done everything we can, uh,
Mhm.
and I worked my way to be able to get in a car. Somewhat try to do all these things on my own. It was just like a like a course, like a 2 day course of how to dress myself,
Yeah.
how to put my shoes on. And, I was right handed at the time.
Mhm.
And so everything about my right side is what I lived off of. And now
Yeah.
I don't have a right side. I can't write. So while I was in there, I was literally taking a first grade writing book and learning my letters.
Mhm.
And it's the weirdest thing because my father was lefty, and I always used to write my name lefty because he always wrote his name.
Mhm.
So I had some writing skills, but to this day, if you ask me to write the alphabet, it could be two different alphabets. By the time I'm finished writing it twice, they don't look the same. So
What did
um,
you have after your 35 days? Were you in a wheelchair or did you have a
no,
brace on?
I was I was in a wheelchair to transport me. I could walk, but I did remarkably good for a stroke victim. I was able to, from day 5, I guess, when I started my rehab, my therapy, to the day I left, I was getting, I would walk maybe 10 steps. Then maybe the next week I would walk 20 steps.
Mhm.
Um, Being tired was really the hardest part because,
Mhm.
um, as you know, it's tough. You get all these other effects that you don't even know that it's coming.
Yeah.
By the time I got to the airport, I did have to take a wheelchair to the gate, but I
Mhm.
did walk on the plane. They brought me to the plane, but they can't take a chair inside. So they could have carried me, but I said, no, I'm going to do this on my own. It's like the competitive in me,
Yeah.
competitiveness. So it's really, it's hard because you don't want people looking at you.
Yep.
And you want to feel like a person. And so it was difficult. I did get on before everybody else, so I had the freedom of not bumping into people. And
Mhm.
that's my biggest fear, even today, is crowds.
Mhm.
The because I know what I can and I can't do, and I can't blame anybody around me
Yeah.
for their. I don't know what they're going to be doing. in the next 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And they could stop, they could turn around, they could hit me without realizing that they're doing any damage. But,
Yep.
you know, I could fall. I've probably, in the 7 years now that I've had this stroke, I've probably fallen 3 different times, but none seriously. Once was at home, one was outside, I was walking a dog, and another time, but nothing like serious where something hurt, something got damaged.
What do you think, like when you were in that first year of your surviving the stroke, when was it that you started kind of your journey to working or somewhat normal part of your life?
Well, I was fortunate enough to have a little bit of money behind me. So I was able to heal and not be stressed. But as the days went by and the months went by, I was starting to get low on my funds. And now I had to go back to work. So, and I was tired of sitting at home watching TV. And, but I needed that time, you know, I needed that time to learn how to do those little things you don't think about. I mean, shaving, brushing your own teeth, your hair, taking a shower, you know, even going to the bathroom. These are all things I had to learn again. And you know, I don't wish this on anybody, not even my worst enemy. I don't wish this, because it's like, I'm a 57, I was 57 when it happened. So a 57-year-old man, basically in a child's uniform, and you're all alone. I don't care what anybody tells you, you're all alone. You're fighting this on your own. Yeah. Nobody knows what you're doing. You're like the first person I even talked to about a stroke. So I actually, when I got home, I was telling my fiance, I was like, it was actually really cool to talk to somebody who's literally going through what I'm going through. And almost at the same time, I think you said it's about 7, 8 years for you. I can't remember what you said, but it was a long period of time. And you know, it's the new stew. You know, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, it is totally new. And what do you think it taught you about resilience? I mean, you're dealt a stroke card. It's completely different than anybody will ever imagine, because you're having to live your life with different physical challenges. First, tell us, did you ever have mortality motivation? Like, I'm glad to be alive and I'm going to take the cards that were dealt me and deal with it? Or was there a mental part of that transition that you struggled with?
Well, it's a transition. So, you know, yeah, you could say, and everybody is different. We talked about what you and I went through, but it really depends on where you are, I guess, in your mental stage. But something happened to me. I knew that. You know, the guy who could do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, however he wanted to, was not the same guy I was looking in the mirror. And now I needed help. And I tried to do everything on my own, but some things I needed help with. You know, I mean, I couldn't even dress myself in the beginning. And I've learned how to do that, obviously. And I do have to plan. Like for today, I had to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning because I knew I had everything to do. I couldn't just get up and go. I have to get up. I have to I just have a routine of how I have to get up. So everything is planned. The day I was never a planner. I just kind of flew off the seat of my pants. And you know, then I dealt with, like, what happened to me. I asked that question even today, like, why did this happen? And there's two ways to look at it, and I choose to look at the bright side instead of the dark side. And
Mhm.
yeah, um, you know, this is what I'm dealt with. This is what I have. And I know you know this because you're still surviving going through this. But look, I played golf probably twice a week, 8 handicap. I love playing golf,
Mhm.
and I can't play anymore. I couldn't drive a car at first. I learned how to drive a car, but I have to use 2 feet. Um,
Mhm.
I can't rely on my right foot. My right foot can do the gas, but if I ever had to get to the brake, I didn't trust myself. So now my
Mhm.
left foot is my brake, and so every day got better, closer to normal than where I was from day one. Um, and there's a gap. There's a gap where I used to be, obviously, and where I am now.
Mhm.
But you know, I could look at it two different ways. I could be done, or I could just deal with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a quitter, so I have to deal with it.
What do you think's the most misunderstood when it comes to strokes and the physical challenges that stroke survivors have to go through? What do you think is misunderstood by people out there the most?
Well, that's a really big question because it all depends on how far along the stroke went and how far that is going to hurt you.
Mhm.
So you roughly have around 3 hours before it becomes permanent damage. And I was right in the 4 hour mark when I finally got to the hospital. So I have some damage. Um, but I think I told you this when we were sitting and having lunch. There's a good thing and a bad thing. There's a reason why I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. If I had a normal morning where I woke up at 7, 8 o'clock, and I might not be here today because that stroke was coming regardless of where I was, or
Mhm.
maybe got a little enhanced by the airport and the pressure, by the airplane and the pressure. Uh, so maybe, but let's just take the way it was. And 7 o'clock is when this basically happened. And I would have still been sleeping.
Mm.
So I could be a lot worse,
Yeah.
and so I want to look at it instead of half empty. I always look at it as the glass is half full. And
Yeah.
um, I decided to go back to work. Um, at first, I had somebody with me who would drive me um, and do some of the work for me. I had to hire somebody to do that.
Mhm.
But eventually, I got back into the swing of things, and it was about 6 months before I really got going again. I think
Mhm.
it happened. I know it happened. It happened October 15th. I think I was back at work full time around this time, April or May of the following year. And of course, when I talked to you about this as well, that April or May was COVID year at the beginning.
Really?
Um, so this is going to sound really weird, but everybody stopped. Everyone had to slow down.
Yeah.
Everyone's life changed.
Yes.
Believe it or not, that stoppage, that slowness, that change helped me. You
Yeah,
know,
I can believe that. Yeah.
because now I'm still on the same playing field as everybody else, talking on my computer,
Yeah.
not having had to drive, not having to do anything. I could sit at my desk in my house, and I was just as equal as any other adjuster in my
Yeah.
firm. And fortunately, my head was still there, although depending on who you talk to, I don't know. But yeah, so it helped me get back to where I could start to work again. And so COVID, crazy as it sounds, and it's wrong, but at the same time, the world slowed down,
Yeah.
and I needed that time anyway to catch up. And we kind of met in the middle, and then I just took it from there.
That's interesting because we didn't have that conversation. I was thinking 7 years, and I had it during COVID, so the world did slow down. Everybody that came to see, because it was in Atlanta, had to wear masks. So I was all through that whole process. But it was kind of interesting you say that, because life did slow down. And I think you're right. I know I had 49 days to think about life, and I didn't have to think about work, which I always did. I was pretty much a workaholic and played golf 5 days a week. And I would get up at 5 and work like a dog till 5. Then I'd go play golf. And so all that world was turned upside down in a matter of seconds. What do you think? I remember, because I grew up dyslexic and ADD, so I had challenges. So when the stroke came, it wasn't so much as a drastic change that because I remember when I first went to the neurologist, and she said, like, how are you doing? And I said, I'm doing fine. And she goes, no, how are you really doing? And it was like, this was another part of journey, because I went through depression, suicide. I went through a lot of cycles of stuff in my time. So this wasn't as drastic as maybe some people. Did you mentally, you had time to kind of get at a pace that would honor you. Do you now today, are you stronger than you were before the stroke? And are you able to handle things differently because of going through a stroke and being physically, your right side is different than obviously other people? Do you feel that you have come out of it stronger because of it?
Well, you have no choice, by the way. And you could go left or you could go right. And I'd never had those. I was somewhat depressed, okay, but that suicide comment you just made, that never entered my mind.
Mm-hmm.
People around me who love me, and I never thought about that at all.
And I didn't have it after the stroke. I was kind of referring before, my many years before I had.
Well, yeah, I never had this.
Yeah, so I was glad to be alive. So I really was appreciated. But go ahead.
I became a senior citizen a lot faster than I wanted to be, basically.
Yeah.
And it's okay, I guess. Coming out of it, I felt a little more organized because I had to be, in order to stay with the times. Everything was structured, where before the stroke, it kind of was just a free for all, just, oh yeah, I got a shower today, now I shower every morning at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock. That's the first thing I do when I wake up. Where before that wasn't happening. It was like, if I didn't have anything to do, I could shower at 11 o'clock in the morning. But now my day is planned. Where before I never really had a calendar, except for, my appointments. But I have to know when I have to take my medicine. I have to know when I have to eat. I know when I can't eat anymore, because everything gets affected. And yeah, so yes, I've become more organized because of it.
Yeah.
and it's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, it's weird how you adapt because you
Yeah.
have no choice,
Yeah.
and
No,
so
I
you
think,
just do it.
I had a person on my podcast a couple years ago, and he grew up, he first talked about PTSD, and he said, he grew up at age 5 in a concentration camp in Russia. And he talked about you can either be bitter or better, and you can grow from your tragedy, or you can wither. And he chose to grow. And so he said PTSD, growth. And I think I had more growth after my stroke, because you do have to figure things out, or, you're going to be miserable. So you learn how to do things like, shower and routine. I'm so routine now. I was okay at it, but now I have everything mapped
Yeah,
out.
you're kind of boring now,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's so weird because I literally go to bed every night at 11 o'clock, not 10:30, not
Yeah.
11:30, 11 o'clock. I go to
Really?
bed,
Yeah. I'm
and
earlier than that, but I have the same routine.
yeah, but
8:30,
like
I'm asleep.
I
Yeah.
never had a curfew before, but
Yeah.
and no one ever told me I had to go to bed at a certain time. That's just what I
Yeah.
do now, and um, it's just the routine that my body has to get used to,
Yeah.
and I think it's helped me.
Tell us about your physical therapy back. Like, when did you start, and how long did you go through the physical therapy part with
Well,
a trained
30
therapist?
days when I was still in South Carolina. So
Mm-hmm.
from the hospital, they have a rehab center.
Mm-hmm.
So I went right into that. And that's why I spent 35 days in the hospital. From there, I came back to my home in West Palm Beach, and I started therapy immediately, like maybe within a week, I started going. Uh, a friend of mine knew somebody that could take me, and they got me through the waiting list. And I was able to get it on real quick.
Mm-hmm.
That was I looked forward to it because it was someone to talk to, and I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't done that in 35 days, by the way. And uh, and that's the only person that I knew at the time that understood anything about what I was going through because
Mm-hmm.
of the training, not because she went through it, but because of the training she had.
Yes.
And so we spent probably 2 hours a day in it, but I would say an hour of that time we spent talking and just, like, okay, what's happened today? Where's your negatives? What's positive about it?
Mm-hmm.
And that really helped. And then, unfortunately, that got shut down by COVID, and
Mm-hmm.
they never came back. So I had to go to a local hospital, and it wasn't the same. It was at that point that I found this therapist that was stroke related. I went to her for almost 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and she was great. And I really started to move literally and mentally. I felt myself getting better, and I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if that was just the time from the beginning or what she was doing, but I thought I had a shot at possibly writing again with my right arm, tying my own shoe, cutting my steak dinner, which, by the way, I still can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And um, but then something happened and I don't think she meant it, but she told me kind of wasn't directed to me, but I heard her, and it was like, he's never going to get better. He's where he's going to be, where he has to learn how to go from here. And at that point, I was a cash patient at the time because my insurance had run out, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not. It was like almost $150 a shot, And why am I wasting my money if I'm not going to get better? So I got a little depressed about that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had to basically realize that this is the new Stu. That's the new me. And then about that time, my 60th birthday came up,
Mm-hmm.
and my fiance had a big surprise party for me. So that was uplifting. I got to see everybody for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost 3 years before I really, and all my friends came. And it was nice to see everybody. So that helped. And I was already working at the time.
Mm-hmm.
There was I had limitations at work, but
What do you think? We were talking about the effects of it, like light and emotions and sound. How has that, share with our viewers what that is like after your stroke versus before your stroke, your emotion and your sensitivity to things?
I don't know where to start, but I'll start with this because it happened last night. Very sensitive all of a sudden, like magnify it by 3,000 times. So it was somewhat sensitive to before. So a sad movie came on, I would shed a tear. I don't have a problem, shedding a tear. I'm not that macho of a man. But now I was at an awards banquet for a high school graduation, and my eyes were tearing up. And I'm fighting with myself, like,
yes,
stop it, you dummy, And I was like, this is wrong. You're embarrassing yourself. But I feel my stomach. It's just the weirdest thing. Sounds. I can't handle loud sounds.
Yeah.
Sudden loud sounds.
Yeah.
So if you're in a baseball stadium or a football stadium and there's a roar, I can handle that because I know it's coming. I'm probably roaring with them.
Yeah.
But something like, a chainsaw, and I don't see it coming. I get startled. I don't panic, but it startles me.
Yeah.
A horn honking. Yesterday, some guy must have got on his horn about somebody I'm not even involved with, and yet it startles me. And so those are the things that I still deal with. Yeah. I laugh at myself afterwards, but it still happens. So,
yeah, no, I noticed for the first time this a couple of years ago. I think we talked about it. I was in an Uber, and the guy I just always like to talk to people, and I was asking him, and he had a stroke, I don't know, 8 or 9 years before that. And this motorcycle came up right beside us to go in the inner lane. And you know how motorcycles are. When they rev their engine, it's loud. And I noticed he jumped. And I said, do you feel that you still are sensitive to that loud sound 8, 9 years later? He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, sudden sounds really bother him. And that same with me, a honking of a horn, dropping a book. That sudden sound, our brains must be more sensitive to that kind of thing. And then light too. When things are like at night, I wouldn't drive at night because when lights would shine in my eyes, it would bother me more than probably most. And
that happened to me when we were driving up from Florida, and it was now dark. I had been in West Palm and we drove all the way here. I live in Ackworth, Georgia, and so it was just getting dark when I was passing the airport, but I still had another 45 minutes to drive, and everything, it was like tunnel vision. Everything got really small. So I don't know if the tiredness from the drive, the time of the day, and didn't even think about the stroke part, but. Yeah, that all comes into play. All of a sudden, the lanes got really small.
Yep.
And it was a little scary. But fortunately, only 45 minutes.
I used to be a runner, and now I if you asked me to run around the block and you put $1 million in it, I can walk it, but I can't run it. So how do you physically stay? Because, walking's a challenge for us, just to do it. Like, people will go out and walk the neighborhood. That's not something I'm tired if I walk around the block because I have to think about every step. How do you physically stay, without that part of you now? Do you do something physically that helps your body?
I probably should do more. I don't. I need to walk, but I've developed diabetic neuropathy through this. The stroke is due to the diabetes, and so my feet go numb, and not just my right side, but my left side as well. And I can walk. I could walk to almost 3/4 of the way of the neighborhood. But the problem is I can't always get back. So I have to shorten my walk so that the distance that I walk is the neighborhood's walk, but I'm staying around the house just so I can get back. I do have a cane. I don't like to use it, more pride than anything. And my cane, believe it or not, has a chair on it. So I probably should take that on my walk. So if I have to sit down, at least I can sit down. And I only need like 5 minutes, and then I can walk another 10. Yeah. I can't go on vacations because of the walking. Just recently, Karen and I went to Pigeon Forge, which is right next to Gatlinburg. I couldn't go to Gatlinburg because that's all walking. It's all shops. It's not like like a Disney World kind of a place. It's streets and streets and streets. So yeah, I could stop and take a view of the mountains. And by the way, they're gorgeous. But I couldn't shop. And that really puts an effect on her because she couldn't shop. Then I'm like, just go shop. I don't like to shop anyway, but yeah.
I went through about maybe 5-6 months of not going to a therapist, because the one thing I did notice, I had my stroke before 65. The bill for my physical therapist was like $30,000 before 65. After, it was like my Medicare deductible, which went from 30,000 to 300. So it's like, if you have to go through that, and that mine's, I think I went 3 times a week. I don't remember exactly, but because I was under the Medicare umbrella, I was able to keep going, and they just had to show improvement. But I went about 5-6 months without going because I wasn't seeing any improvement. I called a friend of mine and I said, you know what? I don't see that I'm getting any better, and I'm walking. I got to think about every step I take. And so she called a neuro friend, encouraged me to go back. And I'm glad I did, because I do a bike every day. I go to the gym every day and I just cycle because I can't walk, but I can cycle. So I do get that exercise. And then I go every Wednesday for 2 hours, OT and PT. And the thing that bothers, I love the PT, but the OT, working with, the hand, mine's my left hand, it's grueling because you're doing things that the brain doesn't want to do it because it's not able to operate like it can operate. But what do you think when it comes to, like, when you're faced with today? Because I went on disability. I don't know what, it took me a long time. I had to shut down my business, which was digital. And I did podcasting, which I have to sit in it. I'm in a wheelchair right now, but I don't use it, but it's comfortable. And I used it, for a while. But all I have to do is talk. I don't have to go physically out there and work like I used to. So what do you think, like when it comes to the mental journey, what you're in year 7, what are you challenged with right now with your journey that you could share with our viewers that you're working through?
Well, from a professional standpoint, I used to climb roofs. I used to be everywhere. I mean, my legs and arms were everything. And now I sit behind the desk. So that's been the biggest challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like sitting behind the desk, but I also used to like climbing my roofs. That was the physicalness that I needed. But it's just life. It's a part of life,
Yeah.
and it's a journey that the man upstairs put me on, and there's a reason for it. I don't know the reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I have a calling that I think I owe it, which is kind of why I'm doing this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is I have to get out what I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not major league educated in guest speaking or anything like that, but I know something that most people don't. And I mean, anybody can have a stroke tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That was fine, a day ago. And I think that's part of what keeps me going is just today. I was looking forward to today because if I can just help one person,
Mm-hmm.
I've there's a reason why I'm put on this earth, and the reason why I have this stroke was to be able to get to that one person. I hope it's more than one person, but you never know. You never know. So I have to do more of that by going to the hospitals and seeing the stroke ward or row or what floor,
Mm-hmm.
and just talking
Yes.
and telling them it's never going to be the same,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you'll get through
Yep.
it. And that's what I had to learn that all by myself, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's really tough, really, really tough. I remember being in the hospital and I took a walk. I took a ride in my wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
I went outside for the very first time in like
Yeah.
maybe 25 days at that point.
Yeah.
And I was just so happy to be outside.
Yes.
And I took that all for granted, obviously.
Yes.
I lived in sunny South Florida. That's all we had was great sunshine. And I did go through a cold spell because it happened in October.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know what cold weather was. Fortunately, it didn't snow, but I did see snow finally last year here. But yeah, so
I want to. I have a couple more questions, and I want to be respectful of your time. But here, I've often wanted to because I'll get in a conversation with people that have gone because I go to physical therapy, and there's a fair amount of people that have had strokes that are in there, and I can't really have too much conversation because we're both in there for a reason, but I have had some and people, don't really know what that journey's like. And they're so like, they don't really share it because people won't understand it. So it's kind of like, it's almost equated to like, if you talk to people that have been through war and then watched their friends die and that have experienced that, they don't want to talk about it. They just don't want to bring it up. But I think when I had that conversation with you a couple of days ago, when we went more than just at lunch, I was discovering things through our conversation that I just didn't know that other people had gone through, because you don't know what you're not familiar with. I guess my point is like, I would love, if you're up for it, to have additional podcasts with stroke survivors, because that journey is totally unique. You're now dealt cards that you've never had before. You can't like say, hey, give me another set of cards. You got to learn how to play them. And
Yeah.
just like golf, my friends say, hey, let's go. We're going to go on a golf trip. I think I told you, I fell asleep after 9 holes because I'm just absolutely wiped out.
Yeah. We used to go on
Just
golf.
9 holes. And so I love golf. I played 5 days a week. I played all the time. Now I haven't played in probably a year and a half. I mean, I played 9 holes. What do you miss most about golf? Because people, when they don't play it, it gets out of their system. But, being a golfer and a single digit handicapper, what do you miss about this sport?
There's so many things. I mean, literally getting up, spending 4 hours away from everything. That's probably the biggest one. It's just hitting a ball down the road, and you go chase it, kind of like what Robin Williams in his little skit said. But there's something, it's a competitiveness with yourself.
Yes.
Not really against the 3 other guys you're playing with. But, you probably played the same course every single weekend. And every spot and everything, but yet you still come up with a bogey, and you still, sometimes you get a birdie, and like, it's the win. I don't know. Yeah, the money helped because we always had something on it, but it wasn't about the money. It was more about a mental challenge.
Yes.
And
totally, I agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah, one day you could be Tiger Woods, and next day you could be me.
Yes.
And you strive for that one day of being Tiger Woods, where I remember making 3 birdies in a row.
Yeah.
And I still shot like 5 over par. I was like, how'd that happen?
Yeah.
I was like under par.
Yes. Yeah, I have a hard time. Like, I'll watch it, but I don't watch it anymore like I used to. Because you would study people's swing, the strategy. And when you're not playing the sport, like I have a buddy of mine, he lives in Florida, and he had back problems, and he was a couple years older than me. He still is. But anyway, he stopped playing, and I could not understand how you could not play golf because, you just love what you just shared about. But once you don't play it, it's kind of like it gets out of your system enough that you can operate, because I would think every time I'd get up in the morning, I'd get up early, I'd work hard, and then I'd go play, and I would race to the golf course, and I would just play because being outside, competing, having fun, betting, strategy, all those kind of things, it kept me going in the day because I'd work hard because I knew at 5 o'clock I was going to hit the course and play with the buddies.
I played every Sunday at 7. 7:08 was my tee time. It was the first tee time in the morning.
Yeah.
I loved it. And it was not the biggest course.
Yeah.
But I played it every single Sunday.
Yeah.
Then I found myself playing 2 times a day.
Yeah.
Then I found myself going on golf trips.
Right.
And with my buddies, we went all over this country. We went down south to the Dominican. They eventually played at the old course in England somewhere. I can't remember exactly where that is, but I couldn't play. So those moments of not being invited and not being able to go, I missed that.
Yeah.
And just beating up on my buddies, whether I was winning or losing, I could take it getting beaten up on, but I love beating up on them.
Yeah. So true. Yeah.
That was just a guy thing, and
Yeah.
It was over in 4 hours, and you went back next week.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Well, tell our viewers, I have one question after this. Tell our viewers, how can they get a hold of Stu?
Well, I work for Blueprint Claims. I don't know if my number is posted on this thing. But I can
give it if you want people to contact you. If you
sure,
want.
It's 954-328-0975. I am a public adjuster. I help people who are dealing with an insurance claim and are not getting what they need to get whole, so they can build back what the hurricane or the windstorm or the water break, a plumbing break. Here in Georgia, there's a lot of trees that fall. Trees that fall don't have to be through a hurricane, but they are considered in the wind as the peril of the wind. And trees do a lot of damage. I've seen trees go all the way down, cut the house in half. And water damage, you have a accidental leak where the garbage disposal messes up or the toilet overflows. You forget about the bathtub. I've had that. One guy was washing his hands, and the dog bothered him because he forgot he left them outside. He went downstairs, then forgot about the water going on upstairs. So he had a massive flood that went not only in the top floor, but it dripped down to the bottom floor. And, and the insurance company it's a business, and they're going to try to get at it as cheap as possible.
Yeah, they're true.
And so I always use this one because it just happened about a month ago. This guy had a tree fall on his 1959 house, which right away I know, because of my experience and time doing this, that asbestos is involved. They stopped making asbestos in the late 70s, but 59, 100% asbestos. So the insurance company didn't bring it up. So he got $13,000 from the insurance company. And although the claim is not closed, we're up to $60,000 already. So I believe I make an impact. I get you results. And if they didn't have me, they would never have gotten they probably wouldn't have gotten to 20. Because if you don't prove to them that you need X, they're not going to volunteer it. And I could go on about stories about what I do, but basically, I am your advocate.
I'm a firm believer, just what you said, hire professionals. You specialize in this. Get somebody that knows more than you do, that has an expertise, that'll fight for you and be able to give you what you deserve. And when you try to do it by yourself, it's a mess. You can go to YouTube and find videos and do a few things by yourself. But
the first thing you do wrong is you call in the claim. And then you start talking and you basically say things you shouldn't say, and you're already in trouble before you even hang up. And that's the first initial contact. So I'd like to get to the claim early, but sometimes I have to deal with some of the stuff that has already been said and stuff like that. But perfect example, it was in West Palm. I had a heart surgeon. He was a massive house. He was obviously very smart in what he does for a living, but he doesn't know a thing about adjusting claims. And he came out and suit and tie, and he was all professional, and I'm sitting here in my shirt here and my jeans, and I'm like, I don't remember exactly what he got in the beginning, but I ended up getting him about $50,000, significantly different than where he was, and he was very, very happy. And like he says, I got patients I have to deal with, and as I know, this is my house, it's my wife and my children are here. But I hired you because I can't do this. And it did take a little bit. It takes about 4 months, but we got him what he needed.
You have something like that, you want a professional fighting for you. I want to thank George Nagoda, because George and we have a common George, and he's the one that introduced me to you. And George I call him my Superman.
George is the best.
He comes in, he gets results, he solves the problem, and then he leaves. He just does. He's wired that way. He's always thinking of how, and I know you're an important part of his his team. So
But George is on a personal level.
yes,
Everything you see is what he is. He
yes,
doesn't. It's not a professional look, or it's just who he is.
yep,
And he generally wants to help you.
yep,
And that's a trait that you don't. Not all people have.
yeah.
And he cares. I've seen him do some things that most people wouldn't do just to help.
Oh, I totally agree. He's the best. What would be the one thing that you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
Well, I would love to do more about the public adjusting stuff, but we spent pretty much the entire time talking about the stroke. So, again, if I could just reach one person, I mean, just meeting you, you're the first person who I spoke to outside of the hospital that, is somewhat positively dealing with the stroke.
Mhm.
And, you hear a lot of bad stories, and some are bad, but you never hear about the average guy or lady who has a stroke and they're surviving.
Mhm.
And sometimes I need that for myself,
Yes.
but I think there's a reason why I had the stroke, and I want to believe that I can at least try and help somebody through
Mhm.
those 3-4 months that I had that were the unknown. Like, other than my family being there, I didn't know. Nobody knows what to do,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
uh, so yeah, if I could be that person, and I don't have a problem with anybody calling
Awesome.
me.
Well,
And
we'll make sure the people that you think need to hear from Stu and myself, share this video with them, because it is a unique journey. It's different. You can't undo something. You have to live with it, and you have to figure out what your life's going to be like after it, because that's the reality of the cards that were dealt us. So Stu, thank you so much for spending the time with our community, and we appreciate you.
no, thank you for letting me speak.
As my friends from Chick-fil-A always say, my pleasure.
Take care. Thank you very